ARE Podcast, episode number 50.
Welcome to the ARE Podcast. Where it's all about encouraging and inspiring you today so you can fulfill your dream of becoming a licensed architect tomorrow. And now your host, David Doucette.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the ARE Podcast. Today we have a micro podcast for you, our short little bursts of information. And Eric, what do we have today?
Well, I wanted to start with the call of the week. The call of the week came today because those are the ones that I tend to remember. It was a guy who's in Texas. And he said, I've got 20 years of experience, and now I want to finally start and get my license. What do I need to do? And I said, well, what do you mean? And he said, well, do I need to register with NCARB? I just set up my NCARB account. Do I need to do IDP? He called it. Can I sit for the test without it? He had all these questions about the process. To which I said to him, well, have you bothered to actually look at the state of Texas's architectural board to see what the requirements are? He said, no. He said, but I don't need to get licensed in Texas. I could get licensed in Tennessee or Ohio, and he rattled off all these states. And I said, okay, which state do you want to get licensed in? I don't know. Well, have you looked at their requirements? No. And I said, well, I can't really help you. I didn't, all 50 states are different. Some require you to do IDP first, and then you can sit for the exam. Some will let you sit for the exam first, and then finish IDP later, but you won't get licensed until you do. They don't call it IDP anymore. They call it AXP. It's all very confusing. And then he was complaining to me about it. And he said, why did they make it so hard? And this kind of leads into our micro topic today, which is they make it hard on purpose.
And they do, but let me just jump in here and clarify, because maybe not everybody knows this. NCARB does not license us. We don't get our license from NCARB. NCARB is just the vehicle. They're the messenger. They administer the process. They administer the exams. And upon our successful completion, they forward that information to the state that we are getting licensed in. So as you were saying, Eric, that person's first stop should have been, if he wanted, he's still got to figure out where he wants to get licensed. But let's say Texas, he needs to contact the Texas Architect Board, or whatever exactly they call it there, find out what their requirements are, submit the paperwork to that board. That starts the process. I think sometimes because we're so involved with NCARB in this process, we meaning the candidate, that we sometimes think NCARB's granting our license, and they're not. They're just kind of the not the messenger, the middle person, right? And it's the state. So each state is going to have its own requirements. So yes, they do make it hard on purpose. And is it just to frustrate us and make us mad, Eric? Is that why they make it hard?
No, because that would be sociopathic, I think. What we talk about in the coaching all the time is this, that all of that stuff, right? A lot of candidates will say, if only I could just get to the test. But all of that stuff, going through the various state requirements, finishing your AXP, doing this while you're doing working full time, going through the paperwork and the bureaucracy, and then fighting against the rolling clock, all of those things are part of the test. You don't realize that. They're building these requirements not to punish you. It's part of the test. It's part of the passage, the rite of passage that you're going through, the trial by fire, the crucible, whatever analogy you want to use. To me, in my mind, that's all part of the test. Are you able to just deal with all of this stuff? Because if you think about it, that's what we have to do with the building departments and the planning departments and state agencies and, all the other stuff we need to do just to get the building. And then on top of all of those obstacles that they lay out, in addition, you also have to deal with the mental hurdles. Right? You are being tested. Your expectations of the test, your anxiety, your assumptions about what you think should and should not be on the test, your inability to read the questions because you're rushing, and even your personal cognitive biases about, how you frame every question. you need to overcome all of those as well in order to get to the test. And you need to do all that before you're going to pass any of these things. And so I like to think that it's hard on purpose because you're being tested on the whole thing.
And it has to be hard. I mean, we need credibility in this profession. The licensing process needs to have credibility. If it didn't, if they made this easier, right, it would lessen the credibility of our license and of the profession. Ask anybody who's a non-architect what they know about architects. I don't know what they might say, but it's not an easy profession. It's not easy to get your license. It is a process. The national average of the pass rate of all the exams combined, I think, where are we at with NCARB? About 53%, right, of first-time test takers. Coincidentally enough, or maybe not coincidentally enough, those of you in California, the California supplemental exam, which California Architects Board says, okay, you pass those 6, now you have to pass ours. Their pass rate for first-time test takers is 54%. So these exams are designed for that percentage, right? That gives credibility. If the pass rate was 90%, there would be less credibility to this process. And that's why if you guys follow us or you listen to us, we don't care if you pass or fail. We care that you're involved in the process and you're taking an exam every 2 months, and the byproduct is you'll get your license. And also, when you do fail, we tend to go inwards and think we suck as an architect. But we've gotten so far just to take that exam, and that's what we like to celebrate, just the fact that you took that exam, right? Just the fact that you finally got through all the stuff that Eric was just talking about. You got your authorization to test. You got your approval from your state board. And now you're here taking the PCM exam. Like, that's a huge accomplishment. The hardest work is done. What's left for you to do is just continue through this process of taking the exams and not stopping until you pass all 6. And if you stay in the game, that process should take you about a year.
I think a lot of people assume that it's like the driver's license, that somehow you have a right to get a driver's license, which you don't really. It's a privilege. But, they think it's like that, where they're going to make it easy for me, right? They'll give me the study materials for free, right? You walk into your DMV and you can grab a free book and you can schedule the appointment and schedule the whatever. And if you fail, you can turn around and take it again. Why is NCARB making it so hard? They're somehow holding the driver's license experience that I think most people have to the ARE experience, and they are not at all similar. This is deliberately a trial by fire in order to weed out people that do not deserve to be an architect. And if you're ready to quit because there's too much paperwork, and we've met those people, right? There's too much paper. I'm not even going to bother sitting for the test. I'll show them. I'm going to teach NCARB a lesson by not becoming an architect. First of all, that's silly. You're only hurting yourself. But secondly, yeah, that's part of the game here. They're trying to weed you out, right? They're making it hard on purpose, not to be jerks, but because if you're going to be a licensed professional and be entrusted with the health, safety, and welfare of the public, you need to be able to go through all this.
Exactly. And it is a game in some respects. It's a game we're playing, and we have to play by their rules because ultimately NCARB is the one who is giving our state board their blessing, right? And they give the board their blessing because we passed all 6 of their exams. And as we've talked about before, NCARB is not an evil corporation. They exist to administer this process, and they want us to pass. There's several nerdy architects that work at NCARB. They're invested in this process. This is what they do. So the quicker we can accept that NCARB is on our side, as much as that might be a hard pill to swallow for some, as soon as we can accept that, it will make this process a lot easier.
And this also goes to the actual taking of the test, right? Picking out which testing center to use or taking it at home, showing up, knowing which test to take in what order, and then taking them. And then if you fail, not letting yourself get deflated or dejected where you give up, but rather keep going until you pass. And then once you're doing all that, doing that with the tools that they give you, the crappy whiteboard and the and the search tool and the weird thing, and then doing it in the time provided. And again, people like to complain to us about the process. Well, it's unfair. I don't like the whiteboard. I don't like the software, and they don't give us enough time. And yeah, that's all part of it too. I remember when 5.0 first came out, and we were getting reports from the candidates saying, I ran out of time. I reached out to Jared Zern, who's the head of exams at NCARB, and I said, gosh, everybody's telling us they're running out of time. Are you guys going to change that? And his response was perfect. He said, no, that's part of the test. It's not just that you do it, but you do it in the limited time we give you. And then it just kind of blew my brain, in realizing, oh yeah, this is all part of it. It's hard on purpose.
Yeah. For example, if they gave us more time, or they gave us, let's say, easier questions, now that pass rate goes up, national combined average 53%. Now that goes up to 75%. Now that goes up to 85%. That is going to discredit our profession a little bit. It's going to discredit some of this process. So it's all designed to make to give credibility to our profession, which is what we want. We are licensed professionals. We're entrusted. Our main goal is to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the public. And that's a huge burden. That's a huge task. So yeah, you should have the chops to be able to do that. It doesn't mean, getting licensed doesn't mean you'll be the best design architect. But what it does mean, or should mean, is that you'll be a safe architect. And that's what the profession needs above all else. Alrighty. I think, microburst. I think, we microbursted, this one. I like these little topics. Any, last little, tidbit on overcoming these obstacles?
It's easy to get dejected. It's also easy to see that for other friends, it almost seems effortless. Like they pass without any struggle. I think if you have friends that it looks like that it was easy for them and you talk to them, you'll realize, no, it wasn't. They worked just as hard as you and they studied just as hard as you, but maybe they didn't complain as much outwardly, but internally there was plenty of complaining going on. It'll make you feel better, but realize you're not alone in this. And once you realize that all of this bureaucracy is part of it, then you just deal with it.
Well said. On behalf of Eric, my name is David, and we will see you on the next ARE podcast.
Thanks for listening to the ARE podcast. Be sure to visit architectexamprep.com and check out our other podcast episodes, video tips, and the ARE blog. Remember to plan, practice, and pass.